Okay, first graders, are you ready for our lesson today? It's a good one, but it's a little bit longer because the story's a little longer, and we're also going to do our comprehension questions in our assignment today. But I'm going to tell you a couple of times to get up and get your wiggles out and maybe get a snack, and then we'll continue on, okay? All right. Today we are going to review and identify the characteristics of stories, including characters, plot, setting, and moral. We're going to identify the moral in a folktale. We're going to demonstrate an understanding of the word advice. And we're going to draw a picture that shows the moral or lesson of the story. Those are all things that you guys have done before so far with me, right? All right, our key vocabulary today, we only have 3 words, and they are advice, pondered, and stunned. So if you don't already know what those words mean, we're going to go over them. Advice is a verb. Remember, verbs are our action words. Advice means guidance or an idea or suggestion that can help you decide what to do. Okay. So Kate's teacher always gave great advice about good books to read. Pondered is also a verb, and pondered is thought about or reflected on. You see, I'm pondering. Can you ponder for me? I'm pondering. Okay. I pondered my choices before placing my ice cream order. Oh, yeah, I definitely do that. Anytime I go to get ice cream, I have to stop and ponder because I'm not sure if I want coffee ice cream or strawberry ice cream. I have to, ponder. All right. This next one is an adjective, and it is the word stunned. What do you think stunned means? Look at that picture. What do you think stunned means? Shocked, okay? Stunned means shocked or surprised. The man was stunned by the bad news he heard. All right, so before we get started with our actual story, I want to review a little bit. What is a folktale? Who can tell me what a folktale is? A folktale is a story that someone made up a long time ago, and it has been told again and again. So if it's a story that somebody made up a long, long time ago, does that mean that a folktale is fiction? Folktales are fiction. Do you remember the name of the main character in the folktale we heard the other day? The one about the little chicken? It was Medio Pollito. Remember, Medio Pollito was the little half chick. Excuse me. Medio Pollito learned an important lesson about doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. What happened to Medio Pollito? So what happened? While he was on his way to the kingdom, what happened? There were 3 things that asked him for his help. Medio Pollito, he should have been kind and helped the water and the fire and the wind, right? But he didn't. So what happened in the end? He needed their help, and did they help him? No. So he learned that lesson of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? All right. Let's see. So in the folktale you're going to hear today, one of the characters is a rabbi. Can you say rabbi? Rabbi. Okay. Do you know what a rabbi is? A rabbi is a person who is trained to be a teacher or advisor, so giving advice, in the Jewish religion. Okay? Yiddish was the language used long ago by Jewish people, and many Yiddish phrases are still common today. There are 2 Yiddish phrases in today's story. Okay, so I'm going to just let you know that I'm going to do my best to pronounce these words because I don't know exactly how you're supposed to pronounce them because they're not in English. So the first one I think is kvetches, and that is a Yiddish word that means complains or whines. So instead of my little sister whines a lot, I might say my little sister kvetches a lot. My little sister doesn't whine that much. I'm just picking on her. And then the other one, I know how to say this one because I say it all the time. Oy vey. Do you know what oy vey means? Have you ever heard that phrase before? Well, oy vey is a Yiddish term of dismay, such as woe is me, or saying, how terrible. And I say that a lot. Me and my big sister say that a lot. All right. Let's see. Okay, so for today's read aloud, I want you to listen carefully to find out what the rabbi teaches the poor Jewish man. Okay, so you have to listen very carefully and see if you can figure out what it is that the rabbi is teaching the poor Jewish man. And I also want you to be listening very carefully and raising your hand when you hear our vocabulary words. Remember, our vocabulary words today are advice, pondered, and stunned. Okay? All right. Get my book. Once there was a poor Jewish man. Poor just means that the man does not have much money. And it also means that he doesn't have good luck. The poor Jewish man went to speak with his rabbi. Okay, so let me get my pointer out. This is the poor Jewish man. Okay. And this is the rabbi. Rabbi, the man said, you must help me. My life is terrible. I live with my wife, our 5 children, and my mother-in-law. There is only room for the 8 of us. The children, they cry and fight. My wife, she screams a lot. My mother-in-law, she kvetches about everything. Do you remember what kvetches means? It means to complain or to whine, right? It's the Yiddish word. It is crowded and noisy and horrible, I tell you. Honestly, Rabbi, I don't think it could be any worse. The rabbi rubbed his chin as he pondered or thought about the man's situation. My son, he said, if you will promise to do as I tell you, your life will get better. Will you promise? Yes, yes, said the man. I promise. What advice or ideas do you think the rabbi is going to give the man? What do you think? Let's see if you're right. Tell me, said the rabbi, do you own any animals? Yes, said the man. I have a goat. Good, said the rabbi. Go home and take that goat and put it in your house. Let it eat and sleep with you for a few days. Do you think that's good advice? Having your goat come in the house and eat and sleep with you if you already have a crowded house? I don't know. The man was stunned or shocked. Take the goat into the house? The rabbi's advice sounded like a crazy idea. The advice is an idea or suggestion, remember? What advice did the rabbi give? To put the goat in the house, right? And let him eat and sleep with him? Do you think it's a good idea? All right. But everyone knew that the rabbi was a wise man, and so the poor man agreed to do what he said. He went home and led the goat into his house. Do you see the goat in this picture? What do you think is going to happen with a goat in the house? How do you think that's going to go? Let's see. 2 days later, the man went back to the rabbi. Oy vey, he said. I did as you said. I brought my goat into the house, but things are even worse than before. The children cry and fight. My wife, she screams a lot. My mother-in-law, she kvetches about everything. What does kvetches mean? Whine or complain. The goat, she butts us with her head and she knocks the dishes off the shelves. Help me, Rabbi. I don't think it could be any worse. The rabbi sat quietly for a moment. Then he asked the man, do you have any other animals? Yes, said the man. I have a cow. What advice do you think the rabbi is going to give him this time? Let's see if you're right. Good, said the rabbi. Go home and take the cow into your house. Let it eat and sleep with you for a few days. Do you think that's good advice? Let's see. Do you think the man is going to follow the rabbi's advice? Do you think he's going to do it? Let's see. Again, the man did as he was told. He went home and led the cow into his house. 2 days later, the man went back to see the rabbi. Oh my goodness. Look at that picture. Do you see the cow? What about the goat? Do you see the goat? Oh my goodness. Look at some of the faces. Oh, look, there's his mother-in-law. Does she look happy? What about the mama, his wife? Does his wife look happy? Does he look happy? Not really. All right, let's see. Oy vey, he moaned. I did as you said. I brought the cow into the house, and things are even worse than before. Why does the man keep following the rabbi's advice? Why do you think he keeps following this guy's advice? Let's see. The children, they cry and fight. My wife, she screams a lot. My mother-in-law, she kvetches about everything. The goat, she butts us with her head and knocks dishes off the shelves. The cow, she eats our clothing. The house is like a barn. We can't sleep for all the bleeding and mooing. Help me, Rabbi. I don't think it could be any worse. Why does the man think things couldn't be any worse? Think about the title of the story. He has a really crowded and noisy house, right? The rabbi was silent for a long time. What advice do you think the rabbi is going to give this time? Let's see if you're right. Then he asked, do you have any other animals? Well, said the man, pausing, I have a goose. Perfect, said the rabbi. Go home and take the goose into your house. Let it eat and sleep with you. Do you think the rabbi is wise or smart? What do you think? Do you think the rabbi is smart? Why do you think the rabbi is telling him to do all these things? Let's see. 2 days later, the man went back to the rabbi. Oh my goodness, look at that picture for a minute. Wow. Do you see the goose on the carpet? Ew, and it looks like there's poop all over the carpet. That's gross. Oy vey, he groaned. Things are worse than ever. The children, they cry and fight. My wife, she screams a lot. My mother-in-law, she kvetches about everything. The goat, she butts us with her head and knocks the dishes off the shelves. The cow, she eats our clothing. The goose, he honks and poops on the floor. I tell you, Rabbi, it is wrong for a man to eat and sleep with animals. I don't think it could get any worse. My son, said the rabbi in a gentle voice, you are right. Go home and take the animals out of your house. You will find the answer. So, what advice is the rabbi giving this time? He's telling them to get all of the animals out of the house, right? How is that different than his usual advice? all of the other times he was telling him to put animals in the house, right? And now he's saying, okay, take them out. I want you to look at this picture. Is this the same house from the beginning of the story? It's the same house, right? It's not any different than the other one, other than it doesn't have what? Animals. How do you think the story's going to end? Let's see. The next day, the man came running to the rabbi. What do you think the poor man's going to say to the rabbi? See if you're right. Rabbi, he cried, his face beaming. That means that he's smiling. You have made my life sweet for me. Now that all the animals are outside, the house is so quiet, so roomy, and so clean. How wonderful. How does everything look now? How does that house look? Looks pretty clean, right? And the people look like they're peaceful. No one's crying or screaming, right? Does the house seem bigger now that there aren't so many animals in it? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? All right. This is a good place for you to take a break. Maybe go for a quick walk or do some dancing or get a snack or something like that. And then come back and we're going to do our questions and our assignment, okay? So this is a break time. Go ahead, take 5-10 minutes and do whatever you need to do, all right? All right, guys, let us get started on our comprehension questions, okay? So here we go. Hang on. All right, here we go. I was on the wrong slide, so I had to find it. Okay. Who does the poor man go to for advice to help with his problem? Who did he go to? Do you remember? The rabbi. And what advice does the rabbi give the man? What does the rabbi tell the man to do? Sorry, I got the hiccups. What is he telling the man to do? Bring all of his animals in the house, right? One by one. Did that solve the man's issue? Did that solve the man's problem? No. It made it worse, right? But why didn't it make it better? Because it just got more noisy and more crowded, right? Okay. What new advice does the rabbi give at the end? What advice at the end of the story is different? To take all of the animals out of the house, right? Now, at the beginning of the story, the man thinks that it is too crowded and noisy with just his family. Remember, that was his whole problem in the beginning. Why does he now think that the house is roomy and nice and quiet with just his family in it? Well, it seems very quiet and peaceful without the animals, right? Like when the animals were in there, it was worse than just having his family. So when he took the animals out, it was so much better compared to having the animals, right? Yeah. So what lesson do you think this story teaches? What lesson do you think? The lesson from this story is don't get upset when things are going badly because they could always be worse, right? So the man was all upset because he thought things weren't going very well. But then he realized that it could have been much worse. He could have had a cow and a goat and a goose living in his house full time, right? Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. All right, so sometimes this folktale is called It Could Always Be Worse. Why do you think it could be called that? Because of the lesson. Because even when you think things are bad, it could always be worse. Do you think that would have been a good title or a good name for this folktale? I think it could have been. All right, let's do some word work, okay? In the read aloud, you heard The rabbi's advice sounded like a crazy idea. I want you to say the word advice with me. Ready? Advice. Now I want you to say it in a whisper. Advice. Now I want you to say it in a robot voice. Advice. I'm going to do it again in the robot voice. Ready? Advice. Now I want you to say it any way you want. If you want to say it in a monster voice or however you want, mouse voice, whatever. Okay? Ready? Advice. All right. When someone gives advice, he or she is giving ideas or suggestions to help you decide what to do. My dentist gave me good advice about taking care of my teeth. Who do you go to for advice? Tell me about a time when someone has given you advice. And I want you to try to use the word advice when you tell about it. I'm going to give you my example. Ready? My doctor gave me good advice about how to stay healthy. Okay, now I want you to try. What's this word we've been talking about? Advice. And advice means someone's giving ideas or suggestions to help you decide what to do, right? Okay. I'm going to describe a situation. For each situation, you're going to decide what advice you would give that person. Okay? And I want you to use the word advice in your response. You might start by saying, my advice is blank. Okay? And I want you to answer these questions to the stuffed animal. And after each statement, I want you to pause the video, tell your stuffed animal or somebody at home, if you want to just tell somebody at home, what your advice would be. And then you're going to unpause for the next statement, okay? A friend has a cold. A cold like, achoo, achoo, that kind of cold, all right? What advice would you give that friend? Pause the video. Okay, a friend lost her lunchbox. What advice would you give for that? A classmate is having trouble with his or her schoolwork. What advice would you give somebody who is having trouble with their schoolwork? How about a friend is sad because he is moving away? Oh, that is sad. All right. What about a classmate that is not sharing? What advice would you give them? The advice I would give them would be to do unto others as they would have others do unto them. And that's what I would give. That's the advice I would give them. All right. That is all of our comprehension questions and word work. There's going to be another video that's going to explain your assignment for today. All right. Okay, friends. Thanks for watching.